Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. I am Bishop Darrell Watkins, the Senior Minister of the Sunshine Cathedral. With me are Sunshine Cathedral Ministers Bishop Robert Griffin, Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell, and Reverend Kevin Tisdall. Visit sunshinecathedral.org to learn more about our progressive faith community and how you can be a part of it no matter where you live in the world. And if you live in South Florida, be sure to check out the Sunshine Cathedral Center for the Performing Arts, offering entertainment for the LGBTQ+ community to benefit the LGBTQ+ community. If you enjoy the Queer God Squad, please share episodes with your friends, family, and social media communities. We appreciate your viewing and sharing and all the ways you support us. To learn more about Sunshine Cathedral, to make donations, or to buy tickets for shows featured at the Sunshine Cathedral Center for the Performing Arts, please visit sunshinecathedral.org. You can also follow us on social media. At Sunshine Cathedral, we are here to tell you that you are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Queer God Squad was created by Hotspots Happening Out in support of their mission to explore the value of faith in the LGBTQ+ community. In 2025, we're celebrating the 40th anniversary of Hotspots Magazine, the 25th anniversary of Queer News Tonight, and we produced the 25th anniversary of Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival on June 14th. Hotspots Happening Out is the largest nonprofit LGBTQ media organization in America, and we encourage you to support our mission and to inform, entertain, and educate our community and allies.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral Perspective. Hail Queer King Mwanga II, the last independent king of Buganda, now Uganda. King Mwanga II began his reign in 1884. He was known to have both male and female lovers. King Mwanga was an early fighter against colonialism, and modern LGBT+ activists tell his story as evidence that queerness is a part of Africa's history. Mwanga allowed homosexual relationships in court. His lovers, male and female, would all be addressed as quote-unquote wife, and they called him quote-unquote husband. Mwanga II had people suspected of spying for the colonizers executed. Some accuse him of killing men who refused his sexual advances, but at least one African biographer insists that while Mwanga's wrath could be fierce, it wasn't wasted on those who rebuffed advances. The king was fiercely against colonialization, and any threat to the sovereignty and safety of his nation was met with fierceness. The previous king, Mwanga I, allowed missionaries into Buganda, and his son, Mwanga II, didn't think that wise. He thought European missionaries were part of plans to colonize non-European countries. Additionally, it may be that some of his harem, men and women, had been influenced by Christians and were embracing Western ideas that were contrary to Bugandan culture. Within a year of Mwanga II's enthronement, he had 10 Christian missionaries killed. Consider this. In Africa, 36 countries, including Uganda, have criminalized homosexuality. All of them established those laws after being colonized by Europeans. His violence notwithstanding, Mwanga II may have been right about the dangers of Christian mythology. He was certainly right about the evils of colonialization. That's a lot to unpack. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that the underlying message is, when the Europeans came in, their goal was to take as much of the African continent as possible. And Mwanga understood this more so than his father. His father tried to do a balancing act, knowing that the Europeans were there and maybe they could be beneficial. But number two was like, oh, no. These colonizers are here to destroy our way of life. Mm-hmm. And he was, in my opinion, correct. He was comfortable in his sexuality. he understood that he was somewhere on the spectrum where he could enjoy both male and female lovers. Now, the European story was, well, if you rebuffed him, he was going to kill you. And at least one person who looked into this said, no, it's not true. The people in his court who were killed were actually found to be spies, for want of a better word. They were put in his court to let the colonizers, the trading companies, know what was going on within his court. So Mwanga II felt very comfortable in taking those spies out and ensuring that people saw what would happen if you spied. And to think that the church didn't have anything to do with it is kind of silly. The story that was perpetuated about him being a violent hater of anyone who would rebuff him, it falls to the wayside when you realize it was the church that was perpetuating that conversation. So Mwanga II loved that he was comfortable in his sexuality, sad that he had to do what he had to do, in his opinion, to keep the colonizers out. And we need to note that he was the last king of Buganda before it became a protectorate of some European country. So my brother was right about what the folk were trying to do.
Yeah. The thing also about his kind of reign is that he was an absolute monarch. Rebuffing whatever he wanted was not an option. So there were 10 people who said no. There wouldn't have been 10 people he ever met in his life that said no. Certainly not at the same time. So, and if someone did say no, the thought was it was because they had been influenced by Christian missionaries. And Christian missionaries like, oh, you know, you shouldn't have more than one spouse, and guys on guys is wrong, and blah, blah, blah. So these people who'd had their minds already colonized, if anyone did say no, that would be why. But I can't imagine that 10 people at once said no to him about anything. And yeah, if he said, join my harem, and they said no, you might be killed. But also if he said, get out of my way, and you didn't, you might be killed. I mean, he was an absolute monarch. So, but yeah, a lot of the stories were told by Christian missionaries just to justify what they were doing. Archbishop Tutu used to say when the European missionaries came to Africa, and they said, "Let us pray." When we bowed our heads for prayer, when we opened our eyes, we had the Bible and they had the land. So this connection with missiology and colonization. In fact, even in during the Spanish expansion, the colonization of the world, they called it the 3 Gs: gold, glory, and God. We were coming to glory for the Spanish Empire, to take your gold and to force our God on you, and that was the mission. And that's sort of been what missionary work is ever since. We may or may not, the church may or may not want to take land anymore. But they are still trying to control bodies, control minds, destroy cultures.
Yes.
So if your missionary work is to tell people they deserve to be loved, they deserve the best in life, we're here to make sure that you have a well in your place, that you have plenty of water, that you have food, that you have medicine. I'm all for it. But if it's we want you to replace your God that no one can see or prove with our God that nobody can see or prove, that's just another form of violence. I'm not for it at all.
Right. This kind of missionary work has been going on for years, not only in Africa, but even here in our own country, of what was done to the Native Americans. You know, there is nothing quite like the hate of Christian love.
Oh, God.
No hate like Christian love, for sure.
You know, I just remember at one interfaith meeting many years ago, and they was talking about how cultures and society was changing, and how Africa was looking to send missionaries to America. And I thought, well, that's an interesting.
That's interesting.
Like when America becomes the mission field,
it was the Catholics, because there were not enough priests, and so Ireland and Africa were going to be sending priests to us, so we'd have enough.
Yep. And so, well, that was interesting. Yeah. So it's like the whole missionary thing is still there, still very real, still very strong. You know, and I still, when you think about this type of a story, though, it's like the dangers of it and the harm that we've seen come out of it from stories like this with the Native Americans and other people. And it's all about change and assimilation. It's like, that's not good. It's like wiping out cultures and identities, and you no longer hear about these kinds of things. but I'm appreciative of people that keep the story alive to remind us
Exactly.
That we can never go back to this type of stuff.
Exactly.
And I'm grateful that there are people who today are correcting the story.
Yeah.
The history is always told by the victors, and right now
yes.
you've got more people who are able to look into these stories and say, that's not quite the way it was. The trading companies came in to do the gold garden glory, and the church came in to make sure that you bowed your heads while the trading companies were taking everything out. So if you want to have a bad person, if you want to have a boogeyman, then you've got to create it and you've got to sell it as hard as possible. So now here we are a century plus later, and we realize that the stories that we heard, where else does that happen? Where the stories that we have heard were not quite exactly what it was. So I appreciate that we're still looking into these stories and finding the discrepancies and correcting them for posterity.
Look up this word, Google it, or this phrase, the hermeneutic of suspicion. Look that up. The hermeneutic of suspicion.
Indeed.
And that's how we approach the Bible, and that's how we approach history, or should do.
Yes.
Yes.
Hermeneutic of suspicion. Well, that's today with the Queer God Squad.
Before we go, we want to invite you to join Sunshine Cathedral in a wonderful travel experience and help our mission for our community. Join us on the Florida Ace Walk Pride Cruise. This unique 3-day cruise will sail from Miami on the $1 billion and ultra deluxe 170,000-ton MSC Seascape on November the 2nd, 2025.
The cruise is an incredible value starting at just $199. Parties, special events, and more aboard, including a special unlimited beverage and open bar with Wi-Fi, all for 3 days and just $68. We invite you to join us on this amazing cruise for fun, this vital cruise for good.
We want to thank you for joining us. We are here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ community is talking about. Sunshine Cathedral is the world's leading progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together.
We are all in this together. Remember that.
You are God's miracle, not God's mistake.
Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Goodbye.